Well, good evening, and again, very warm welcome to our carol celebration. I hope you're enjoying it. We're certainly enjoying singing up here. My name's John Risbridger, one of the ministers here, and I'm just going to take a few moments of your time to tell you what I think is some incredibly good news. I want to begin by asking you to use your imagination. It's Christmas Day. Everybody is finally around the lunch table. Steaming plates are piled high with Christmas dinner. The moment when battle with the turkey begins is almost upon us. But first, a quick pause. We pick up our inevitable Christmas crackers. We look at them. We think, well, they're really quite pretty, aren't they? Bright and shiny and decorate the table nicely. And then we cross our arms and we open the crackers. There's this moment of kind of fun and celebration and cheers and pops and bangs. And then we look inside, and it kind of loses something, doesn't it? We realize that these wonderful things are really just packaging, and there really isn't anything worthwhile inside. There's that funny paper hat that never fits on your head and gets stuck around your ears on its way down to your neck, you know? And then that plastic toy that's not even worth taking out of the packet before you put it in the bin. And finally, those awful, not even trying to be funny, cracker jokes. You know the ones? The Independent recently commissioned a survey to find out officially which were the worst Christmas cracker jokes. And here is the worst one. It's official. Who hides in a bakery at Christmas? A mince spy. It's hardly even worth the groan, is it? And then second worst, I think you'll all know this one. What do you get if you cross Santa with a duck? A Christmas quacker, yeah? Okay, pretty awful, really. But in some ways, this is a kind of picture for the way Christmas is, for the kind of Christmas that we've created here in the Western world. The packaging, it's kind of glitzy and fun, and we're being told all the time to spend our money, and there's lots of adverts everywhere, and it's bright lights and stuff on the high street. All very nice, but actually, deep inside, there's something rather empty quite often about our experience of Christmas. We heard from that brilliant poem that Olive read to us a few moments ago, which actually she wrote herself, and I think tells something of her own story, that actually far from kind of peace on earth and mercy mild, quite often, for many of us, Christmas is about family tension or loneliness or just lots of trashy TV and then the big credit card bill afterwards. It's not quite what we hope it will be. But here's my question. Does it have to be this way? Could it be that there is actually a version of Christmas that is better than the packaging? I believe it could be. The same Independent that commissioned that survey of the worst ever Christmas cracker jokes also got a couple of comedians in to see if they could improve on those two worst ever Christmas cracker jokes. I wonder whether you think they did a decent job. Who hides in a bakery at Christmas? A sensible turkey. It's a slight improvement, I think. And then what about the Christmas quacker? What do you get if you cross Santa with a duck? Loads of presents and a bill. Slight improvement, maybe. But what if there is actually a version of Christmas that doesn't come with a huge bill? What if there is a version of Christmas that makes us richer rather than poorer? I believe there is. I believe I found it, and I didn't find it in a John Lewis advert or even an M&S advert. I found it in one of the first descriptions of Christmas ever written just a couple of decades after the life of Jesus. It goes something like this. You know how amazingly generous Jesus was. He was rich, yet he became poor for you, so that by his poverty, he could make you rich. How's that for a good version of Christmas? A version of Christmas that makes you richer, not poorer. Surely that is worth finding out about, isn't it? How could it be? Well, I wonder if you saw on the news during the week that up in Scotland last week, they had the largest ever sleep out. 10,000 people who had to pay at least £100 each in order to sleep out for a night in order to raise money for a homeless charity. And between them, they raised over £3 million, which was quite good. So, 10,000 somewhat richer people becoming a little bit poorer, they gave up their 100 quid or more, in order to make some poor people a little bit less poor. That at least was the theory. Now, multiply that up by a few billion times and you're beginning to get somewhere near this real version of Christmas, this good news version of Christmas. Because the claim that lies at the heart of Christmas is that the baby in the manger, Jesus Christ, was in fact the Son of God. The Son of God who had left the incredible riches of heaven to become poor, to become a human being for us, in order that he could die on the cross to bring us back into a relationship with God that will begin now and last forever. That is the really good news of Christmas. You say, well, it doesn't seem very likely that the baby in the manger could be God in human flesh. Come on. It's just not realistic, is it? Well, it just might possibly be true, you know. Let me tell you about Francis Collins, Professor Francis Collins. He's a medical doctor, and he was also director of the Human Genome Project, widely recognized as one of the great scientific advances of the last couple of decades. Francis Collins was a happy atheist with no interest in faith whatsoever, until one day he was standing beside the bed of an old lady who had severe heart disease and was experiencing dreadful chest pain. And the old lady said to Francis Collins, "Do you know, doctor, my faith is really helping me through this struggle." Well, he was kind of impressed, but he'd heard that before. But then, this old lady dared to ask Professor Collins the killer question. She just said, "Doctor, what do you believe then?" These are his own words. I had to admit to myself that her question had made me realize that I had arrived at an answer to the most important issue we human beings ever deal with: is there a God? And I had arrived there without ever really looking at the evidence. And then he says very honestly, "And I'm supposed to be a scientist." And he never looked at the evidence. He continues, "That day at my patient's bedside started a journey for me, a journey I thought would confirm my atheism, but to my surprise resulted in my conversion to Christianity." For Professor Collins, when he looked at it, the evidence for Jesus, the evidence that the baby in the manger really was the Son of God, when he looked open-mindedly at the evidence, it was overwhelming, and he became a Christian. Now, clearly, the director of the Human Genome Project is no gullible fool. So what if he's right? That the baby in the manger really is God in human flesh. What if he's right? Don't just dismiss it because that's what primitive people think. No, some incredibly intelligent people who've looked at the evidence, like Francis Collins, have concluded it's true. What if it is true? Well, if it is true, it means that God in Jesus Christ really did give up the incredible riches of heaven in order to become a human being so that we could have those riches for ourselves. Now, heaven isn't just about kind of clouds and harps and everlasting church services in the sky. Nobody wants heaven if that's what it is, let's face it. No, heaven is about life. Real life, life in the way that God intended it, the life for which we were created, which is the life that isn't characterized by futility, emptiness, meaninglessness, but that a life that has God at its very heart. Life lived in a perfect and totally satisfying relationship with our Creator. A relationship that gives our lives that meaning, direction, significance, and joy, which actually all of us want deep down. That is the relationship for which we were created all along. And yet the relationship from which as human beings we have turned away. What we've done is put lots of other things in the place of God and live for them instead of living for Him. Things like money and sex and success and power, reputation. And the trouble is, when we actually live for those things, they don't satisfy us in the end. In fact, they turn us into their slaves. They don't set us free at all. They make us poorer. But Jesus came to make us richer. He became poor for us. He became a human being for us and with us so that He could die on the cross in our place, taking the penalty for all those negative, enslaving choices that we've made. He paid the price of that so that we didn't have to, but instead could turn away from those enslaving choices, live a different kind of life with God at the center, and begin that relationship with Him that starts now and that never finishes, and that gives our lives the joy for which we're all looking. That's what Christmas is really about. That's why Christmas is celebrated as such amazingly good news. Even better news, dare I say, than a 3-2 win down at St. Mary's this afternoon. It is the best news, and it's news with eternal significance. I wonder if you've seen this year's John Lewis advert. It's about that moment when a young lad called Elton was given his first piano and begins to play. But for Elton, this piano wasn't just a gift. No, it was much more than a gift. It actually changed his life and turned him into Elton John, one of the great musicians, solo artists of our time. And the advert finishes with these words: some gifts are more than just a gift. They are, in fact, a whole new life. And that's true of the Christmas gift, the ultimate Christmas gift, the gift of Jesus becoming poor for us in order to give us back the riches of heaven. It's not just a gift. It's more than a gift. It's really a whole new life that is on offer. A whole new life lived with God and for God and with joy. And this evening, that gift is offered to every one of us here at this carol service. The question is, how will we respond to that gift? Maybe you've already received that gift, in which case we respond to it with joy and thanksgiving and worship, because it is the best gift. It makes us richer. Maybe you respond to it with many questions. You're a little bit curious, but you've got lots of questions. You're no way ready to commit. That's absolutely fine. You can join one of our Alpha courses where all those questions can come out into the open and you can work them through and see, like Professor Collins saw, if there really are answers. You'll hear a bit more about that in a moment. But it may be that for some of us here this evening, actually we've already worked through our questions. And we know that the time has come for us simply to receive that gift, to begin that new life, to give our lives to Jesus, ask for His forgiveness for all those wrong choices, and begin life as His disciple. And we're going to have that opportunity in just a few moments when Alison leads us. So thank you so much for listening for this bit of time. I want to say have a great Christmas, every one of you. But my prayer for each of us here is that this Christmas we will see beyond the packaging to the real gift of Christmas. The gift which is free to us, which costs God everything, which makes us richer, and is way better than the packaging. Please listen to the choir as you reflect on your response now. Thank you.